Ever wonder what an ancient story about a broken down wall could teach us about leadership today? Well, a lot more than you might think. We're about to dive into the story of Nehemiah. And let me tell you, it's basically one of the greatest case studies in crisis management, like ever. So let's get into it.
And that really gets to the heart of it. See, this story, it's not really about stone and mortar. It's about something much bigger, rebuilding a whole nation's identity, their hope. And it all kicks off with just one person who had this incredibly powerful sense of purpose.
Okay, so to start, our story doesn't begin in the rubble. Nope, it starts way far away, in a super luxurious Persian palace. And that's where we meet our guy, Nehemiah. He's got a pretty sweet gig, right? He's the personal cupbearer to King Artaxerxes, literally the most powerful man on the planet at the time.
But then, some absolutely devastating news reaches him. He hears his people are in, and I'm quoting here, great affliction and reproach. Basically, they're in deep, deep trouble and totally disgraced. The symbol of their entire identity, the wall of their city, is just a pile of burnt rubble. The stakes couldn't be higher. This is a full-blown national catastrophe.
And Nehemiah's reaction is not just, oh, that's too bad. It's visceral. He weeps, he mourns, he fasts and prays for days on end. For him, this isn't just some distant problem anymore. It's become his personal burden. Right there in the heart of all that luxury, a mission is born out of a completely broken heart.
All right, so the next scene is, well, it's incredibly tense. Nehemiah just can't hide his grief, and of course, the king notices. Now, you gotta understand, in an ancient court like this, looking sad in front of the king was a huge no-no. It could literally get you killed. It suggests you're unhappy with your lot, or maybe even plotting something.
So the king calls him on it, point blank, and Nehemiah is terrified. The text says he was very sore afraid. But in that split second, he does something amazing. He shoots up a silent prayer and just takes this massive risk. He tells the king the unvarnished truth. My ancestral city is a ruin.
And when the king asks him, so what do you want? Nehemiah is ready. He doesn't just say, can I go? No way. He lays out a complete, multi-point strategic plan. I need official leave, I need letters for safe passage through all these territories, and I need a royal order for timber from your forests. I mean, talk about foresight in action. He had this all planned out. So, he gets to Jerusalem, but he doesn't just roll in and announce, I'm here to save the day. The first thing he does is go on the secret nighttime recon mission. For 3 nights, he's out there by himself inspecting every inch of the ruined walls, getting the real lay of the land.
Okay, once he's done his homework, then he gathers the people. And notice this, he doesn't bark orders at them. He casts a vision. He invites them to be part of the solution. And the response? It's just electric. They immediately say, let us rise up and build. And just like that, the work begins.
But you know how it goes. The second you start making progress, the opposition shows up. These local governors, guys named Sanballat and Tobiah, are not happy about this. At first, they just resort to ridicule. They're mocking the builders, scoffing, what are these feeble Jews doing? They even joke that the wall is so flimsy a single fox could knock it down.
But pretty soon, as the gaps in the wall actually start closing, that mockery turns into something way more sinister. These enemies start plotting a surprise attack. Their plan is literally to sneak in, kill the workers, and stop the project dead in its tracks.
So what does Nehemiah do? He doesn't panic. He doesn't stop the work. He adapts. He arms the builders. From that moment on, it was half the crew building, the other half standing guard with spears and shields. And get this, every single builder had a sword strapped to their side, a tool in one hand, a weapon in the other, ready for anything.
So just when you think you've got the external threat managed, a whole new crisis explodes. And this time, it's from the inside. The project is grinding to a halt, but not because of enemy swords. It's because of injustice happening right there within their own community.
The poorer families start crying out. They're having to mortgage their farms, even sell their own kids into servitude just to survive and pay taxes. And who are they selling them to? Their own wealthy countrymen. When Nehemiah hears this, he is absolutely furious. He calls out the nobles right to their faces, accuses them of exploitation, and demands they give everything back, not later, immediately.
And this, right here, is where his leadership just shines. He doesn't just tell other people what to do, he lives it.
He reveals that for the entire 12 years he's been governor, he hasn't taken his official salary, the food allowance he was entitled to, because he refused to be another burden on the people. He didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk.
Okay, so internal crisis solved. You'd think he'd get a break, right? Nope. The enemies outside just changed their tactics. They figure, okay, brute force didn't work, creating division didn't work, let's try deception. They keep trying to lure Nehemiah away for a meeting, but he sees right through it. He knows it's a trap.
They try this 4 separate times, and 4 times he gives them this legendary response. His focus is just unshakable. He's dealing with fake news, false rumors, even threats from prophets they hired to scare him, but he just refuses to get distracted. He does not waver, not once.
And all that focus, all that perseverance, it all leads to this one incredible number, 52. That's right. In just 52 days, the impossible happened. The entire wall was finished. Think about that. The achievement was so mind-blowing that even their enemies were totally demoralized. They had to admit that this project must have had divine help.
But hey, the story doesn't end when the last stone is set in place. Building the wall was just phase 1. It created a safe space. Now Nehemiah had to rebuild the culture, the very spirit of the people living inside it.
So everyone gathers in this huge assembly, and for hours, a scribe named Ezra reads to them from their ancient book of the law. And as they're listening, this huge wave of emotion just washes over the crowd. People start to weep, openly, mourning for how far they drifted from who they were supposed to be.
But then Nehemiah steps in and stops them. He says, no, no, no. This day is holy, don't mourn, don't weep. He masterfully shifts their focus away from all that grief for the past and onto joy in the present. And that dedication ceremony for the wall, it turns into this massive, epic celebration, so loud and so joyful you could literally hear it for miles.
And that's really the key here. The physical project, building a wall, was just the catalyst for a total renewal. It led to a new spiritual commitment, a strategic plan to bring people back into the city, and ultimately, it restored a community's completely shattered identity.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? The story of Nehemiah is just incredible proof that one person with vision, with a solid strategy, and with real integrity can inspire an entire community to do what everyone else thought was impossible. Which really just leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? What broken walls, physical or otherwise, are out there in our world today, just waiting for a leader to step up?